This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we got a treat for you tonight. We're not going to talk about Alabama politics. We have the honor and privilege of having probably the most famous international person I've ever had on my television show in these 15 years I've been doing it here at the Montgomery Rosa Parks building. We have the famous and world famous singer and entertainer Lee Greenwood as our guest. He's going to entertain the Montgomery audience tonight in concert at the Montgomery Performing Arts Center, and he was benevolent enough to take time to be on my little show by Alabama. And so, man, I tell you, I'm so proud to have Lee Greenwood. Y'all don't know how famous this guy is. I mean, it has the most famous song probably ever written, God Bless the USA. He's known for that. Lee, good to have you on the show.
Thanks. I would miss the opportunity. I love Montgomery. I love Alabama. We just live north of you in Tennessee, and I'm in Alabama a lot. This week, actually, I'm touring through Alabama. Last night I was in Florida at the Boys Ranch outside of Palatka. Here tonight in Montgomery, tomorrow night at Texarkana, and the next day in Texas for a huge Veterans Day show in Orange Grove.
I bet you are in demand for a Veterans Day show. Had the Orange Grove now?
Well, it's interesting that we get requests for all of the major holidays, whether it's Memorial Day, 4th of July. Those are kind of days that I'm in high demand. But we work all year long. I have a really great band. This is called the American Spirit Tour, and we've been touring all year. So this is nothing that's different.
Well, so do you have your own bus and everything?
We have a bus and trailer, and it actually says on the side of the bus, ABC Supply presents Lee Greenwood on tour. It's a wonderful company out of Beloit, Wisconsin that covers my tour support, and they are red, white, and blue, and they're conservative.
Lee, you're known as being a conservative. Of course, God Bless the USA is a patriotic song, and you've done USO tours and sang and been friends with almost every Republican president. Now, I'm not going to say we're about the same age, so I'm not going to say you've been around a long time, but you're born in California in 1960, well, you got to finish high school in 60 in California. Well, you were born and raised in California. You now live in Franklin, Tennessee, where all the famous country singers and singers live around you. Probably every famous person. You're probably the most famous one in Franklin, though.
No,
a
not
lot of
really.
famous ones like you in Franklin. So you are a neighbor here in Alabama, and we'll claim you as a cousin.
Okay, I like that.
Cousin Lee Greenwood.
Yeah, I was born in Los Angeles in 1942. My father joined the Navy right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor in '41, and my mother never forgave him because she was stuck at home with 2 kids, so she divorced him. I was raised by my grandparents on a farm in Sacramento, California. That's the capital, which has gone to hell in the handbasket, by the way.
Most of California has.
Yeah, San Francisco and Los Angeles, I don't even recognize them anymore. It's just a shame.
You ain't going to retire in California, are you?
No, hell no. But I enjoy being in the United States. Everywhere else, I tour an awful lot across the country, as I said. And on this Veterans Day weekend, we have a really important event coming out on November 12th in theaters across America. It's called a salute to the troops, but a salute to Lee Greenwood music over 40 years. And I have 40 different singers from different genres of music that come on stage with me. We actually filmed it in Huntsville, Alabama. And we had 10,000 people there that night. And in order to get kind of spread out so the rest of America could see that wonderful show, because you can only get so many people in the theater, just like Beyonce and Taylor Swift, we have a movie. And it'll be aired November 12th. On all the theaters in America that is possible. If you go to adoptavet.com, you can buy a ticket for a veteran and a caregiver and send them to the movies for free.
That'd be great. Lee, you started singing and playing the piano when you were a little boy, didn't you?
A little boy.
Tell me how you got into it, but you also were almost like a Major League Baseball prospect, and you had to choose between the two.
How do you know all that?
I read about it.
Oh, you're good.
I can read it,
You were good.
But you were like, back to that childhood thing, you kind of were a prodigy. Would you sing first or play the saxophone, didn't you?
I sang first in the First Baptist Church. Every Wednesday, I love Wednesdays more than Sundays. And I can remember the first time I was probably 10, 11, I sang "Oh Holy Night" for the first time in the First Baptist Church in North Sacramento, California. My mother was a piano player in the 40s. When women weren't allowed to play in bars, she did anyway, because all of her men were at war. They waived that rule, and basically she was such a good player. And to answer your question, we had a little spinet piano in our trailer. We didn't have a house, we just had a trailer, and add on, you know, where they add on things to a trailer and make it a house, you know, with the asphalt siding and all that. And so I just kind of took to playing the piano, and kind of by ear, picking up a lot of songs and music. And so it wasn't until I was like 14 that I began playing the saxophone. And just by, you know, chance, my grandfather's brother was a saxophone player, and he gave me a saxophone that he didn't use anymore, and I just took to it like a duck to water.
Were you simultaneously playing high school baseball?
I was in the Pony League, and I was scouted by the Dodgers. I was all-star, shortstop and outfield.
They won another Pee Wee Reese, didn't they?
Well, could be. The trouble is when I went to the Dodgers camp and they said, "How much you weigh?" I said, 140, dripping wet, and I'm 5'7". They said, "Don't think so, son."
Well, that's all Pee Wee Reese played. He was a shortstop with the Dodgers.
Yeah, but it's a different time. You know. And I remember running a race with a kid I went to high school with, and he went to Brigham Young University, and he was 6'1", and I was really fast. I was the fastest guy on the relay team, and he outran me, and I'm like, yep, I don't think it's going to be sports. Yeah, I can do this all day long, you know.
So at what age do you decide you going to take a risk like make music your career? You turned down baseball. What are you, about 20 years old now?
No, I was like 15.
15. You decided then you were going to have a musical career.
I could have done several things. I could have done farming for my grandparents. I could have done building. My mother married a guy named Louis D'Antonoli, became my stepfather at 12. And he was in contracting, him and his two brothers, Salvatore and Luigi. And so they built motels around Disneyland, and I went to Anaheim High School one year, and I could have done building contracting, but you know, just music just took over my life. It was so fun, and I loved creating the music. I loved getting on it. You know, the first song I ever sang was Mac the Knife.
Is that right?
In a nightclub called the J&T nightclub in Sacramento.
Who sang that song first?
Bobby Darin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then later on, you know, I don't sing it anymore, but it was funny. I sang at a couple weddings one time, and they went, "When did you first sing that?" I said, "I was 15." You know.
Now so an agent saw you or something, and how did you get into to be as
the big time?
Yeah.
Well, to me, the big time was Vegas, and I was playing a circuit from Sacramento to Portland to Idaho Falls to Reno, Lake Tahoe, and back to Sacramento twice when I was 16 with my own band.
At 16 years old. Mm-hmm. You were playing Vegas at 16?
No, I was still in Reno and Lake Tahoe, and I opened right after high school in Reno at the Golden Hotel, and I was 16 years old. And I stayed there for about a year, and then I had an agent come in to see my band, and they got me a gig at the Stardust in Vegas. And we moved to Vegas that year. I was just turned 18, and I played the Stardust Hotel for an entire year as the relief band. And then I put my roots down in Vegas and stayed there 20 years.
So when did you get your first real Vegas marquee event? How old do you think?
Well, I was 37 when I got my career in Nashville.
Okay.
And that's when I could go back to Vegas and get my name out of the bushes, you know, in the marquee down at the bottom. I got to start putting up the top. I opened for Crystal Gale, then I opened for the Oak Ridge Boys, and then I started headlining. And that took about a year in order to gain that kind of attitude there in Vegas. They all respected me. They all loved me for working there. So I had no jealousy about me leaving and going to Nashville and become a country artist. And it was a little bit of adjustment where I had to wrap my arms around country music because I have no drawl. I'm not from the South. But I love living in the South. My wife is a Southerner. We've been married 31 years, and we have two sons that were born in Nashville.
So you took 17 or so. You've been doing some work in Las Vegas. So you took a risk to come to Nashville.
It was a leap of faith, no doubt.
To come to Nashville. But so you had not released a record yet?
Nope. I had $300 and a half-ton pickup, Chevy pickup.
Were you married? You weren't married,
no,
were you?
No, I'm not married yet. And I lived in Ashland City for a while. We released our first record on MCA. I joined the label with Reba McEntire, George Strait, the Oak Ridge Boys, and Barbara Mandrell. And we all toured like crazy folks, you know, and every doghouse.
Had those people you named made a name for themselves already?
They already were stars.
Say who were the Mandrell, who else now?
It was Barbara Mandrell, George Strait from Texas,
Yeah.
the Oak Ridge Boys,
All these had already had to
and
be
Reba
hit.
McEntire from Oklahoma. Yeah, they were already stars, and their records were already, broken.
You were touring with them.
Not yet.
Okay, but
No.
but
I did tour for the first 2 or 3 years. I could name you a few: Tammy Wynette, Loretta Lynn, Charlie Pride, the Gatlin Brothers, and then I toured with the Oak Ridge Boys. I would eventually tour with Barbara Mandrell because I wrote her a song called "We Were Meant for Each Other" that turned out to be our duet album together, which produced the Grammy nominations called "To Me," which was a beautiful song. And then I toured with Kenny Rogers. I wrote him a hit song as well. Then I toured with Alabama, of course. That won me the male vocalist 3 times, just because I was touring with, the major artist of the time.
Lee, now, so you're in Franklin or Nashville, not in Franklin yet, but Nashville, and you're kind of they know you're a star, but when did you have your first record? At 37, at the age 37?
Yeah, I was 38 years old. It came out in 1981. It was called Inside Out, and it was a really big record. It Turns Me Inside Out was the name of it.
So it hit big, the first one.
Oh yeah, it was a monster hit.
Did they know it when you recorded it in Nashville? They said this is going to be a hit, Lee.
Yeah, they all.
They knew it.
Every radio station in America knew it. And
Had you written it? Did you write your own?
I did not
song?
write that one. No, I didn't write any of my own hits till we got to God Bless the USA.
People don't realize that. I have read the life of Smokey Robinson in Motown. They gave him half the ownership of Motown because the royalties went to the writer of the song.
That's right. But
I wrote the lyrics.
In my list of talents, I would say I'm a musician first, a singer second, and a writer third.
That's generally the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I don't know. I wouldn't think major stars like you or Smokey Robinson Smokey wrote all of his songs.
Well, let's just talk about somebody like Carole King. Carole King was a writer first, a singer second.
Okay.
All of her songs, we did that. We saw her on Broadway, our music on Broadway, and she was a writer first. I mean, that was her acclaim. It happened to be she was a pretty good singer too. So when she sang her own songs, people were like, "Yeah, okay, I like this." And then
she wasn't in Nashville though; she was in California.
Yeah, she's. LA.
But now, Lee, let me ask you this: so you made that song "Inside Out," and you're about 37 years old, and they knew it was going to be a hit. It was a big hit right off the bat. Did you have to start touring with just that song, and then?
Well, I was touring before I had the hit.
Yeah.
I signed to the Jim Halsey Company out of Oklahoma on my way to Nashville. And my manager was a former bass player with Mel Tillis. His name was Larry McFadden. They're all gone now. And so they gave me that opportunity. They say, you're an entertainer. That's what we need. We need it. And the only reason they signed me to MCA Music was because Dave Loggins wouldn't take the contract. Dave Loggins wrote "Please Come to Boston." He also had a duet with Anne Murray, and he was a great writer, guitar player, and singer. And they said the only reason they gave it to me because he wouldn't tour.
Let me ask you this question. So you come out with the song "Inside Out," and it's a big hit. Now, what do you start doing other songs soon thereafter? What year is this about?
Okay, this is 1980.
1980,
yeah, and they only had a 2-record deal.
So Inside Out came out in 1980.
Yes, and I only had 2 records. It Turns Me Inside Out and Ring on Her Finger, Time on Her Hands. The writers of that song, Marion Kennedy, Pam Rose, and Don Goodman, wrote Dixie Road the same afternoon, but I didn't get that until the next album. It's because they didn't think I'd like it. And the 2 girls were part of a 3-girl trio that sang in all my first 10 albums. So you kind of got a synergy between musicians, singers, and writers. It all happens in the studio. And my producer, Jerry Crutchfield, was head of MCA Music, so he had access to a lot of great songs. And then his brother, Jan Crutchfield, both from Paducah, Kentucky, wrote me 3 hits, Inside Out, Going, Going, Gone, my first #1 song, and She's Lying.
So Going, Going, Gone was #1.
That was the first #1 hit.
Overall, not just country, but everything. Overall.
Well, I didn't cross over to country until Somebody's Gonna Love You.
Okay.
That was the next album. Then You Got a Good One
I never
Coming.
envisioned you as a country singer, really. I knew you as a patriotic singer.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of an outsider when you come to that. I'm not a hat act. I'll wear a cowboy hat when I ride horses, but not on stage like Tim McGraw. But it's not my persona, and I don't have an accent. I don't have a slang. I think because of the 20 years I spent in Nevada, I didn't have any.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be unless you come from here. You wouldn't talk like that.
But if you're from Oklahoma or Texas or Georgia or Mississippi, Alabama, you have, and at one time I had 4 musicians in my band from Alabama.
Is that right?
Yeah, one from Tuscaloosa, one from Florence, one from Huntsville, I forget what the other, from Metallica.
So I guess, you mentioned the band Alabama. We are so proud of them, and I saw Randy Owen the other day.
Love those guys.
They've never lost their humbleness.
No, and they never have lost their career. I mean, we will be playing with them December 1st in Huntsville at the Von Braun Center to relive the moment, one of those moments that we toured with them for 2.5 years.
So you've toured, you're good friends, y'all toured
yeah,
together.
Yeah.
Everybody up there in his part of the state is close to you, and then Franklin, he grew up there, he's on the same land that he has always owned. The only thing he does exotic is buy expensive cattle. He thinks himself as a cattle farmer. But all those folks in DeKalb County, he's just like he was just their next door neighbor.
Well, sure.
All the time.
And I'm kind of like that at home. I don't have a gated community. We have just a lot of friends around me, that are just, they know when I'm gone, they kind of watch my house and stuff like that.
Now, I bet you really are the most in-demand person there is on patriotic holidays, like the Veterans Day coming up.
I would say so.
So you stay like booked years in advance, don't you, on that?
At least a year in advance.
On the 4th of July.
2024 will be my last year to tour.
2000 what?
24 next year.
Next year you're gonna close it out. Will that be 40 years?
Well, yeah, it's more than 40. I mean, I just turned 81, so I just don't want to travel anymore. I
don't blame you.
It's enough.
Life.
I got 2 boys in college. Dalton just graduated Vanderbilt with a PhD in cancer research, immunology and pathology, and his undergrad in Washington Lee was biochemistry. He just took his first job in Chicago. And then our other son, who graduated TCU as a Chancellor Scholar, had a perfect science score, but he went music. So he just enrolled in the University of Miami to get his master's in musical production, engineering, and writing.
I'm going. If you and my viewers will pardon me, I want to read something I put together to show you how famous and accomplished this gentleman is. Throughout his expansive career, international country music icon Lee Greenwood has earned multiple CMA and ACM awards, a Grammy Award for the top male vocalist in 1985, and a multitude of other prestigious awards nominations. His discography records includes 22 studio albums, 7 compilation albums, 7 #1 hits, and 38 singles, including songs like It Turns Me Inside Out, Ring on Her Finger, Time on Her Hands, She's Lying, I Don't Mind the Thorns If You're the Rose, Dixie Road, Somebody's Gonna Love You, Going, Going, Gone, among others. His standout hit, excuse me, which most of y'all know him from, and God Bless the USA, get this, y'all, has been the top 5 on the country single charts 3 times, in 1991, 2001, and 2003, giving it the distinction of being the only song in any genre of music to achieve that feat. It reached the top 20 of the Billboard Hit 100 chart shortly after 9/11. Known for his standout patriotism and support of the United States military, Greenwood has been honored with the Congressional Medal of Honor, Society's National Patriots Award, and entertained troops in more than 30 USO tours across the world. Lee, I tell you, you're the most famous person, most accomplished person I've had on the show. But has any of that reminded you or triggered you? I kind of want to get any memories you might have. You toured with Elvis Presley or lived with Elvis Presley. You played for every president, especially Trump. You've been Trump's face card in every one of his campaigns. And any memories about any presidents or other stars and you sang with, or I know we could spend all afternoon, but we only got about 10 minutes left. Think about some experiences. What's been most, when you were sitting on the front porch with your grandchildren in Franklin, Tennessee, a couple of years now, they asked you, Granddaddy, who's the most famous president you knew? What's the most famous thing on you see?
Well, I'd have to candidly tell you that 41 was my favorite. We became very close. I met him, of course.
This is Bush.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The first Bush or second Bush?
41, the first one.
Uh-huh.
And I met him when he was vice president because I was performing for Reagan. Okay. And I did the 84, being this is a political show, I did the 84 Republican convention, and both Reagan and Bush are very tall. They're like 6'1", and so as a courtesy to most speakers, there is always a small. You're very tall too. How tall are you?
I'm 6'5.5". I have people who interview me on television.
Yeah,
get on a stool.
Yeah, you're very tall. So they had a little podium there for a man for speaker to stand up on, so he could reach the microphone. So I'm going to sing after they speak, and so they both did their thing, their speeches, and so I watched 41 as he stepped up to the microphone and took his foot and slid that underneath the podium. I said, I'm screwed, And so
he put it out?
He didn't know that I was next. I don't think. So they're speaking, and they walk up, and so I walk up. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Greenwood, they start playing my track, and I'm on my hands and knees, dragging that step stool out so I could get up and reach the microphone. That was an embarrassing moment, and I remember
he was vice president then.
He was vice president.
And Reagan was president.
Yes, sir. And then I toured with George Bush, 41. And we became very close friends. Interesting, let me give you one, and I've sang for 10 presidents, 5 2 different times. And I'll say at the Reagan Library, when it opened, it was Reagan, Bush, Carter, Nixon, and Ford, all of their wives, and Lady Bird Johnson, whose husband had already been killed.
But all those you named presidents were still living. And
they're all sitting behind me.
Name them again now, which ones?
Ford, Nixon, Carter, Bush, and Reagan.
We're all there.
Bush was president now. It's Reagan's day.
Okay.
So Johnny Grant from Hollywood, who was the mayor of Hollywood, came to me and he said, I'd like to have, when you come to that part in your song, I'd like you to stand up next to you. I'd like all the presidents to stand. Johnny, how am I going to get the presidents to stand up? 5 of them. Am I going to say, would you guys please stand? Well, I didn't know at the time Reagan had already been briefed. It was Reagan's day. So I get up there and I'm walking back and forth so the cameras can get shots of all 5 of the presidents and the reactions to the audience to me singing. All their wives are sitting next to them, And so I get right about that part in my song and I look down towards Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan looks right at me and gets eye contact. He had never done that before. Reagan was very aloof. He would shake hands with you.
Is that right?
Yes, he would shake hands. He's an actor. They don't do anything live. Shake hands with you and move on to the next person. Disarming, very nice man. I loved him to death. So Reagan looks at me and gets eye contact, and I'll be darned, I gladly stand up next to you. Reagan stands up, Bush stands up, the rest of the people all stand up because now the president has standed, and then here come 4 jets, F-18s right out of Simi Valley right over our head, and that's what Johnny Grant wanted. He wanted that shot. With the jets over there, everybody standing. So that was a big moment.
That's one of your favorites.
That's one of my favorites.
All things, 1984, when Reagan being sworn in.
No, it would be after '84. You lost your mic. It'll be a little later than that actually. And then of course at the Texas A&M, I sang for 5 presidents. They're all in the front row. Both Bush presidents, Clinton, Obama, and Carter.
Carter. The second Bush is
both Bushes were in the audience, sitting in front of me, Papa and son, and then Clinton, Carter, and Obama, and Carter was 93 at the time, the same age as George Bush, and I was the MC of the event. I sang with the cadets. Lady Gaga was on that show. Alabama was on that show. And was nominated for an award because of the presentation. It was for hurricane relief for Houston. And we raised $45 million, but oddly enough, that J.J. Watts, the former player for the Houston Oilers, or Houston Texans, he also raised $40 million. So he did more than 5 presidents did. It was pretty funny. We ended up
What year was this, Lee, you reckon?
Oh, gosh.
What you think? It was in the 80s, wasn't
4 years, 5 years ago, when the hurricane hit.
Oh, it's
you
been
remember when that was?
It hadn't been longer than that.
Remember when the hurricane relief was? I don't remember.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But those are memorable things.
I got a cat shot off the Kitty Hawk. I flew with the Thunderbird airplanes, shot an M1 tank out in Barstow. I've been in all the military, weapons and everything. It's interesting to see it from a layman's perspective, someone who was not military, and just see what the soldiers have to do in the field.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but Lee, you have been almost the face card for President Trump and all his rallies. Have y'all gotten to be good friends?
Yes.
Is he a personal, like he's kind of an actor like Reagan was, A
little bit, yeah.
Like that, but
because of The Apprentice on television, you can see that he's very disarming, and he's very tall as well. I've had pictures with him several times. And was it here in Montgomery? I believe that I introduced the no, it was in Chattanooga.
You were here this summer for the thing.
Yes.
We were down at the Civic Center.
Yeah, and I introduced the vice president. No, I sang with the vice president on stage, and he introduced the president.
Yeah.
So that was the only 2 times the 2 of them were together.
But Trump knows you coming, though, don't
Yeah,
he?
yeah. He's always briefed.
I shouldn't ask this, but it may be none of my business. But do you charge them when they come, or you do it free without
I do
waive your fee to do that?
Well, yeah, there's no fee. And it's funny because he'll say, "I'd like to." We don't Mar-a-Lago. You know, I've sang several times in Mar-a-Lago, and he'll get up with all his contributors in front, and he said, "You know, I want to thank Lee Green for being here." And he'd go, "Lee, I hope you get a lot more money for the song for doing that." You know, and I was like making a joke about it, but no, that's all for gratis. I don't charge anything, and there's no appearance fee or nothing.
Well, that's generous of you. That tells you really are for that person.
Well, I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative Christian, if you will. And I just think that my heart's in that right place. Now, having said that, I don't use my stage to talk about that. My show will be here tonight in Montgomery, Alabama. I will not talk about my politics tonight.
Yeah,
I don't do that.
Now, how many songs will you sing tonight?
We'll sing about 2 hours.
Will you?
Yeah.
Do you sing most of your famous hits and everything?
Yeah, a good collection of them. I change show to show on what I can.
Has your band been with you a long time?
I think the most, there's one guy's been with me 25 years. I know that my tech has been with me almost 40 years. So.
Well, I've never had anybody on my show as famous worldwide as you are. I appreciate
you're very kind.
Time before you do your concert. We even got an audience now. You got Perry Hooper Jr., big Republican
Hooper's
Trump
here.
guy. Terry Chan, a young Republican from Birmingham.
Wonderful. I met him earlier.
And your guy Austin's here, Entourage, everything. We appreciate you doing this so much, and we appreciate you being a neighbor of us in Alabama, and really make you we're going to call you Cousin Lee. I'm
happy to be Cuz. That's cool. I was just talking to Cousin Brucey in New York, by the way, on WABC. So just one more time, I want to remind your listeners, it's if you go to adoptavet.com on Veterans Day weekend, that's November 12, that would be the Sunday that I'm singing for the Dallas Cowboys. Go to a theater near you and take a veteran and a caregiver and send them there for free. Adoptavet.com. You only got a few days, so do that for me.
Folks, we appreciate you turning in tonight. We're so proud to have Lee Greenwood as our guest, and we hope him the best of luck tonight. And he's a great Alabama and American legend, and we're going to name him Cousin Lee Greenwood from Alabama.
All right, I like it.
Thank you, Cuz.
Thank you, Cuz.